Well, Lez, my name is Coffe. I go by Coffe Iman, and it's such a pleasure to have you today.
Thanks,
To
girl.
interview you. As you can see, I'm a huge fan. I've been watching you since, well, probably Rap City.
Yeah.
I've been a huge fan. So I know a lot of people think things are overnight success nowadays. So what made you want to actually become a dancer?
Um, I was a gymnast first. I was a tomboy, grew up in Queens, climbing trees. A lot of guys lived in my building. So I would always hang out with them, hopping fences and stuff, and then back flipping, like outside in the park and everything, and breaking my mother's furniture in the house. And
Yeah.
she put me in a trampoline class. First week, the teacher was like, she needs to be in a gymnastic class. And then literally put me in a gymnastic class. And a year later, I was competing in national competition. So um, dancing was always part of me growing up
Okay.
because I'm a New York City club girl. So at like
Okay.
15, 16, breaking curfew, hitting a Latin Quarter, USA roller skating rink, this club, that club. But it wasn't until there were shows like Solid Gold that came on where there was a dancer by the name of Darcel, beautiful, statuesque black woman, these legs and these high kicks and these spins and occasional gymnastics. And I was like, ooh, that could be me.
Right.
Then Debbie Alley came with Fame and everything else. And I was like, oh, there I go again. And it wasn't until my senior year of college, I was in a 5-year master's program, but you can only compete for 4 years.
Okay.
And I had started seeing videos from like Paula Abdul and Jody Watley and Janet and all that stuff. And I was like, that's what I want to do. And
Oh.
I opted out my 5th year and went back to New York and hit the pavement.
Now, how hard was it back then? I'm not saying like back then, like it was so long ago, but a lot of people, it was like, it was more of a face-to-face interaction. So do you feel like it's easier now
Oh,
to
yeah.
enter that field than it was before?
Well, I mean, you didn't know any better then, right? Everything was long form. So for me, it was watching the music video, seeing that it was MCA Records, calling 411, talking to the receptionist, finding out about the video department or learning about artist development over the phone. Who's that person? Who's auditioning? The long form of things. Finding out about auditions was you had to go to a newsstand and get, the backstage newspaper, and all the stuff was in the casting was in there. There was no typing anything in and finding out information. You had to go print physical headshots and do all of this other stuff. It absolutely was harder then because right now you don't even have to leave your home for casting director to just be cruising through YouTube or something like that to see somebody that they may like. I think it gets a little tougher. It was tough then, and then there's two realms of how people get hired. For me, there are people who can dance, and then there are people who move well. And
Okay.
depending on who the artist is and what the men feel like they want to see in their music video, what makes the penis hard, are the girls who move well versus the people who dance. The problem that I have now with social media, and it's the only problem I have because it really is a gift and it's a tool for everybody to become a star. I think what happens is, and especially when it comes to acting or hosting, is that popularity supersedes talent. They think because you have a million followers that they can be the next host on the red carpet or they are perfect for this role, where you have people who have studied the craft for so long and can transform themselves into these characters as opposed to somebody who you have to force feed information to, and they only want them because they have a fan base because they punch somebody in the face on TV. So, on a
Yeah.
reality show. So that to me gets a little muddled. But I say, ride the wave for as long as you can. I still made it. And I think I have more respect for those of us who took the long route versus those who are instant successes, because then they're also ungrateful and it may be short term.
So knowing that you had to take the long route and you perfected your craft, do you still think those now can be just as respected? Because I know people still, they're kind of like trying to take the short road and not go to college. Do you think that discipline is still needed in order for
um,
them to be respected as a dancer?
there's only a few people who are really gifted in that sense,
Okay.
who have never studied the craft and have that innate ability to dance or that innate ability to act, and they just get it. Somebody like Mekhi Phifer, I don't think ever studied, but he's really good. So you can find that diamond in the rough of that person who was there. You know, you get NBA players who now don't even go to college. They go straight from high school,
Yeah.
right? Because you're just that gifted, and because the opportunity for injury is increased if you do another 4 years in college instead of going right to the NBA. So I say, sure, if you are that gifted, then go ahead. It's harder to really respect someone who got the job because of popularity and that there are 10 other people who are better than them. But obviously, the universe does what it does, right? This is their divine order, and you can't hate on whatever God's plan is for them. Just hope that once they get in that position, that they respect the craft, they nurture the craft, they don't take it for granted. There was something I saw on one of the reality shows on Real Housewives of Atlanta where one of the girls, started working on a TV show. And the TV show, or she got canceled from the show, or the show got canceled, and her agent was like, well, then while we're looking for another job, why don't you get back into acting class? She was like, acting class? Don't you know who I am? And I just was so instantly disgusted.
Yeah, I can see that.
So for that, I have no respect for.
Now, I know you do a lot of media, and you were doing you have radio as well. Mm-hmm. Do you ever go back would you ever teach dance or go back to that industry at all?
Well, I do a lot of speaking engagements where my speaking engagements are master classes. So it'll be like 30 minutes of dance or dance and fitness or choreography, and then 30 minutes of conversation, or however long I'm there for, an hour of this, an hour of that. I did teach for a little bit. I also was a gymnastic coach like back in the day. So teaching is always, I taught boot camps and stuff. Teaching is something that I can do in my off time, and some days I love it, some days I don't. I don't really desire to teach or to even really open a dance school. I'd rather open a gymnastic facility. And
that was your first love.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you start to see more Black gymnasts now, but back in my day, there really weren't. We were a dime a dozen, you know what I mean? Like, I was really one of the only Black girls throughout junior high school, throughout high school, throughout college, because it's an expensive sport. And I just thank God for my mother being able to sacrifice for me in that way.
Yeah, it's very important to have that support system. How well or how big of was your support system when you started?
It's always hard to get parents to look at their child's artistic and creative ability and take it serious, right? Because they always want you to be a doctor or a lawyer, something that's going to make you money and finish school. They don't look at the person who's the painter. They don't look at the person who's the dancer. They don't look at the musician and think you're going to make money off of that because you're that good. And my mother still to this day is in shock that the girl who was kicking over her vases and furniture in her living room got to travel the world and work with all of these celebrities and got a full 4-year scholarship to, on gymnastics, and is working in radio and working in TV. She's still scratching her head about how the hell did that happen? Because I really did excel in school as well, and I was in the sciences and all that other stuff. And she thought I was going to be in the medical field. And I did too for a minute, but, that's not where my passion lied. So I'm glad that gymnastics was my journey, and she just kept nurturing it. Excuse me.
Now, what do you say to those who seem like they have to be obedient to their parents versus go after their passion? Because, I mean, you could make it so far, but that doesn't mean you will still be famous. I mean, but you could still make a living off doing your passion. So what do you say to those people?
There's nothing worse than being a slave to something that you hate. And I don't mean this literally, but doing a 9-to-5 to me is like wanting to slit my wrist or chew glass or something crazy, because it doesn't fill my soul. And if you're at a point where you need your parents' financial support to follow your dream, then you better find a way to support yourself. And this way, nobody has any say in what you do. So whether they put you out of the house, then you got to be able to, even if you have to have that 9-to-5 job, then let that job be the thing that pays for your art classes or your music lessons or your recording studio or your dance lessons or whatever it is. that's what that needs to happen. And your parents are just going to have to live with it. You know what I mean? It's not like you're being disrespectful, but your life is your life.
Yes, true. True. I think it's a hard decision to make, especially when you're not financially stable. But how do you feel about people jumping into the entrepreneur field, having that in mind, saying, I just hate 9 to 5 and not really going after passion?
I'm not mad at that. I mean, you got to do what your spirit calls for. You know what I mean? You can't live your life for somebody else. You can't live your life even for your parents. You want to make them proud. You know what I mean? As long as you're not out there robbing people and murdering people, you know, or even if you're at the strip club using that money to elevate yourself, whether it's in real estate or whatever the case is, then at some point they're going to have to get over it. But you have to do at the end of the day what feels good for you, you know, without disrespecting or hurting anybody else.
Yeah, true. So what are the new projects that you have going on? I see that you had the spin room, and then you said you were getting into more you do a lot of interviews as well. So which one are you working on currently?
Everything and all things. There was at one point in time, like way back in the day, where people are like, "No, you're doing too much," but they always say that to the women, right? You never say to Puffy,
Yeah,
he's doing too many things. He's being an artist, he's being a producer, he's running a marathon, he's doing this, but why can't the women do it? You know? So for me, at this point, I'm still doing radio. Whether I'll get back into terrestrial radio or continue doing a podcast in a bigger version, or even a talk show, you know, I'm trying to, for me, set myself up in a way that I have a Ryan Seacrest contract, that I have an Oprah Winfrey contract, that I'm not just some chick holding the mic. But really my focus has been over these last couple of months is I'm putting my Debbie Allen hat on. I've been shooting my first documentary as a director and a producer. And this whole COVID pandemic kind of shut me down.
you know, it just takes the fun out of it. I know.
Yeah, because I was getting interviews. You know, I had done my interview with Bobby Brown, and you know, I'm doing actually. It's based on the '90s female dancers. So, and I realized the urgency of it because I can't talk to Heavy D, I can't talk to John Singleton, I can't talk to Whitney Houston, I can't talk to Michael Jackson. I got to get my mom on camera because she's older. So the urgency for us to tell these stories, or for me to tell this story, which is my story, you know, became urgent. So trying to finish this documentary, which is going to take a minute because grabbing people has just been hard, you know, and writing a book, or at least a trilogy of books, whether one may be a fiction, but the other will be about dance, about my life at Rap City, about women in radio. So I have, you know, those 3 versions. There's a lot to tell. So that's it for now. And it's a lot because
that's it for now.
I have to make it come to life. But I've been asked to choreograph some other projects. And there's a theater project that Will Smith and Queen Latifah are working on that I am fighting to be a part of, so that I would love to dance 5 days a week if it becomes a stage production. So we'll see. I'll lace up.
Yeah. Do those productions are they usually just on the East Coast, or do they travel with those type of productions?
Well, sometimes they travel. You know, it depends on what this one is going to do. You know, it'll do 6 weeks in LA and 6 weeks in New York, or it might just be a New York staple. You know what I mean? Most of the plays that come here in Los Angeles tend to be traveling plays where they're here for 6 weeks and then they're gone.
Okay.
As the ones in New York that stay there for years and years and years. But they always have what's called, I guess, a satellite production, which also tours around. And the main ones will stay in the big city.
Okay. So do you also produce shows as well, right?
Yes.
So have you produced anything lately besides your personal project of documentaries, or?
No, just my personal project. And I'm also the co-producer of the Spin Room. So just, you know, working on that. But that's enough right now. You know what I mean? I'm used to juggling a lot, but I have to really make these things come to life and stop talking about it. And this, again, like I said, I'm in panic mode now because of this pandemic. Because even though I thought about shooting this way, my interviews, I don't really want to. So grabbing Teddy and grabbing, you know, all of Mary and all these other people, I have to do it in person. So, you know, it set me back a little bit, but I'm just trying now to switch over to, all right, well, let me start writing the chapters of this book, or let me start writing the screenplay, you know. So that's what I'm doing.
So how does it feel to have dominated the field for so long and still remain consistent?
I don't feel like I've dominated anything. I honestly, When I look at my counterparts,
Okay.
meaning Sway, Ryan Seacrest, Carson Daly, and then who came behind me like Terrence J. I feel like the boys club have gotten deals that I haven't gotten yet. You know what I mean? They've got production deals and TV deals, and I'm sitting here still trying to figure out, okay, what have I done wrong? What am I not doing? I'm in a different age demographic. You know, men can look however they want on TV, big stomachs, you know,
no
ungroomed,
hair.
right? And women don't get that pass, you know. And I'm not 20 anymore. I'm grown, and as much as I like to think I'm still 20, you know, I'm still backflipping and
You
stuff.
still can hold a torch toward
Well, thank you.
against most 20-year-olds, yes.
You know, I'm looking at daytime TV and I see what my other female counterparts are looking like too, and I'm like, yeah, I can rock with them. And some of them are younger than me and not holding it together, whatever. But again, you can't take anybody's journey and stuff from it. So I feel like I dominated maybe in the dance world and as a dancer, and I ended up cutting even that career short for me because Rap City happened, which was a blessing, you know. And that blessing, they allowed me to still dance for like another year or two, because then I could do all the interviews in the cities that I was in, but I had to at some point stop. And if it were me, I probably would have still danced another 4 or 5 years. But once TV happened and then radio happened, it was like, all right, this is what it is, you know? So the body was ready. The body wasn't ready, but it got ready. And of course I miss it. It's hard for me to go to a concert and watch, you know, Missy Elliott and her dances. And I'm just like, oh my God, I want a piece of that. I want to be in.
Just stand backstage at least.
Yeah, it's hard. I'm like, I watch her, and you know, there's only a couple of people too that I would come out of retirement for, and that would be like Missy, Janet, Usher, Justin Timberlake, Beyonce.
That's a good list.
So, you know.
Well, I still feel like you created a blueprint, and maybe they stuck a guy in those, you know, in those places a couple of times along the way. They kind of might stole your shine, but I think you still, like you say, it's still a boys' club to an extent. So it's been difficult, especially it seems like with women of color, to be in the camera completely for long periods. You know, besides maybe, you know, The View or The Real, you'll find some speckle here and there, but not a full platform. So would you ever do a show like that where it's you and a different panel of women?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I look forward to doing that. I just want to expand my audience, you know. Like, I love my BET and my TV One family, but I believe I'm so much more. The genres of music that I know and the knowledge that I have is so much more. Like I know the pop world, you know what I mean? I almost know a lot of the rock world, but nobody knows that, you know what I mean? Because I've been in hip hop and R&B in the urban world for so long. So I absolutely would love to do that international platform. And if you realize, they didn't have the diversity departments, you know, when I was coming up, where now it's mandatory that you have a gay, an Asian, a Latina, and a Black. You know what I mean? It wasn't that before. So when I left BET trying to get on E! Network, and they may have had one Black person, they looked at me like, and then because, you know, even working for our people, the Black on Black racism is very real. You know what I mean? Especially when you have the men, you know, at top. They don't look at women who don't pass the paper brown bag test first, if you know what I'm saying. And that's some real shit. Excuse me, but yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, even if like, it seems like the men's club also pushes to the back, as well as the women, the brown women. Where do you think, or what do you suggest someone else that's coming up under you? Because you have broken some barriers. So what do you suggest? Yeah. So what do you suggest someone do besides feeling like they're just closed in and they don't, you know, they don't have any choice?
I'm not trying to have a pity party, and I never did. But I'm the chick who gets up before everybody else to put the work in, right? You don't see anybody else doing the backflips. You don't see anybody who's really working on their shape. That's one thing I say about Mayweather. As much shit as he talks and as arrogant as he is, he gets up before everybody else and he puts in the work. And that's what anybody else has to do, because once you show up and your talent speaks for itself, then you can't be denied. You can't, you know, and now we're at a place where you can make your own platform and make your own way and create your own stuff. And even if the bigger networks don't gravitate towards you, you still have a platform to express yourself still to the masses, so there's no excuse. And I never wanted to use that as an excuse, even though it's a reality about, the rejection, or how, a light-skinned person got more work than I did, or whatever the case is. It's a reality, and it's my truth. But I put in the work so that I could be seen, and you can't deny me. So.
Okay. Well, I look forward if you will come out of a self-documentary so we can see how you moved from point A to point B as well. Not just the 90s hip-hop, because I think a lot of people, what I've noticed with the new entertainers, they haven't done the research. And
Right.
so if they saw you somewhere, it's like, oh, she looks familiar. They haven't done the proper research to say, this is the craft I'm in. These are the people who made it okay for me to stand on this stage. So, do you have any personal feelings about that? Or do you suggest someone who's, because you've danced for some of the greats. So if someone is creating a video, whether they're directing or being an artist, should they research the people that came before them?
Absolutely. That's the only, because everything still comes around in circles anyway, right? But I know even for me, I researched the Nicholas brothers so I can learn about tap, or whoever, about Lindy Hop, or like I'll go back to the 30s and the 40s or whatever, just so I can kind of see what it was. And because you have to be a wealth of information for whatever production and whatever time period, you have to do the work. Of course, these people who are coming up now are so lazy that it's all about them and self-serving, that very few of them do the work. But also, I think the parents should be teaching them about, the way our parents did. Well, my parents, you're younger than me, but my mother made sure.
The same thing, yeah.
We
had the one TV. You had to watch whatever learning channel was on that one TV, and it didn't matter what it was, whether it was in black and white or not.
Right.
And people would always say, how do you know this? I'm like, well, my dad had the TV remote today.
Absolutely. Right. And my family did too, whether it was learning about, Motown or Ella Fitzgerald or whoever came before then. You got nuggets of information, or, the civil rights movement, or this, that, and the other, or what have. Like, I think it's everybody's responsibility to teach their child. I think it's the person who is the artist to learn more about their craft and the history of it. But, this millennial generation is, no, I think they're very savvy. I think they are entrepreneurial, but I think they also feel entitled because things are so easy at the fingertips. That because they're missing that journey of hard work, there's no gratefulness in the, whew, I made it. It's like, okay, why ain't this happening fast enough? Because everything is like this, I think we had more patience in the outcome, but the hunger still, because it was an everyday grind, as opposed to, let me send my resume, I'm going to Starbucks, and when I come back, I better have an answer. You know what I mean?
They do. It's like, you just sent it today. Wait 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. I am truly a huge fan. I don't know what I'll probably scream after I turn this off, right?
I'm so grateful. Thank you so much.
Yes, I'm a hip hop kid. I had older brothers and sisters, so you know how that goes. You're just the youngest one in the house. You get to hear everything from, even if it's let's see, Miles Davis to Aretha Franklin to anything. And then you hear, my sister always played like Full Force and Michael Jackson. So that was the soundtrack of my home. So I really appreciate your work. I can't wait until you release those projects. Do you have any type of time? I know the COVID is putting you on hold, but do you have a dream time frame in which we can look forward to it?
I would love for it to be 2021.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And we're going to pray for it. But, documentaries are things, I guess, that take long. And I'm going to have to deal with getting music clearances and stuff like that, it doesn't matter how cool I am with the artist. It's the record label and, you know, being able to use it. And now the new parameters, I might be able to sneak 7 seconds here or whatever. So I'm going to have to deal with that and stuff too. And I want to try and get some additional funding. So it'll be out when the time is right, it'll be right on time. You know what I mean? But in the meantime, I'm still going to try and get my action film work in while I can still do some flips.
Do you do any stunt work?
No, I was going to do some stunt work earlier on in my career. And then I was just like, well, why am I going to bust my ass for somebody else? What am I, crazy? Like, no, let it be my role. And like,
sometimes it's a thrill rush, you know, you might have.
No. I get that. If you look at my page, my Instagram page,
yeah,
I'm still doing trapeze and trampoline and skydiving. So I get that on a regular basis. And if I can get paid for it to do it for my role, that would be great. But I'm not doing it for somebody else's role.
Great. I love it. Truly inspiring. Do you have anything that you would like our listeners to know or to grab onto?
I just want to say, first of all, thank you. I really appreciate you, and I can't wait to see where you are this time next year, because nothing but progression and elevation
so much.
Come your way. To everybody out there, just follow your dreams, follow your heart. You know, rejection is God's protection, so don't let that deter you, because you never know. That yes is going to be like right around the corner as you're inching closer to it. So you got to be built for this business. Wipe your tears. Don't be no punk. Invest in yourself. Put in the work. Learn your craft. Learn more to your craft. Learn who the players of the game are, the producers, the directors, the people who came before you. Be professional. Show up on time. Don't be a fucking diva. I don't care whether you become J-Lo status or whoever. You be nice to everybody, from the gaffer to the electrician to the person, the production assistant, whoever. And then that's it. I just wish everybody luck. And, you know, you got to live your life for you. So good luck, everybody.
Well, I wish you luck, too. Hope to see you again someday.
You will. We meet in person, or you remind me, too, that we talk, because, you know, but I wish you the best. And thank you for having me. And I love your name, Coffe.
Yes. Thank you so much. It was such an honor. Thank you for taking any time out to talk to me. So I'll make sure I tag you, let you know when it's out.
I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. See you later. Bye-bye.